Good morning. Welcome to the Lockdown Economy, a social nonprofit initiative by think tank AlterContacts to help small businesses and self-employed professionals overcome the challenges of the pandemic and reactivate the economy. My name is Maisa Sarkis, and as I usually do, I interview businesses from all around the world. This time, it's a business in Barcelona. My guest is Alessandra Olivier. She lived in London, England, till the age of 25. However, her story started when she decided to go on a one-year adventure to Spain. And from there, her journey began. And today, in 2020, she's a personal life coach, an entrepreneur, and I'm delighted to say that she's working and living in Barcelona. And for her, it's a beautiful home. Her background, her trainings include science degree in psychology, cognitive behavior and therapy, and as well yoga, meditation, and creative art therapy. Hello, Alessandra, or I can call you Ali. How are you?
Very good. Thank you very much for having me. And indeed, Alessandra is a very long name, so most people will know me as Ali. So feel free to call me Ali.
Yeah, I will address you today as Ali. I hope I'll be also one of your inner circle and be one of the people who call you Ali. So, Alessandra, Ali, we talked about your journey as a professional and being an entrepreneur. So, can you tell us what do you do as a business?
So I'm a personal life coach. So I work with individuals who come to me in a period of transition or with any challenges they're facing. And really we dive into the blocks and barriers that they are facing and what it would be like for them to truly live and create the life that they really want and deserve.
And how long have you been doing it?
So I started off working in mental health a very young age of 16, volunteering and working in a lot of different centres, charities. However, working for myself has only been since the pandemic hit. I was let go from my old job. And so it was that moment for me of, this is something I've wanted to do. It's now or never. Now is the time.
Yeah, I can also relate to that. This year was challenging in all aspects, and many have also were jeopardized and their job was at risk. I myself, I'm going back to the market, and I feel that if I don't take care of my mental well-being, I'd affect this area hugely, and it will have an impact on my life and my daily rituals. So far, you've started during the pandemic. How did you reach out to your customers and who are they, if you can tell us about them?
Sure. Well, I think the first thing is I was what you call a closet coach, right? Most people didn't know actually about the work I was doing. So the first thing for me was setting up the basics of a business, your own website, announcing it on social media, and having consistent branding. Now, I have to admit, as me, I'm not necessarily the Instagram girl before all of this that would post about my life. So there was some resistance to it in creating my business. But what I realized was it is the way for me to reach out to people that need help. And actually, it wasn't about me. You know, it's about my message of communicating. And there are so many people that are suffering right now that need help. And sometimes they just need a little reminder or someone to be there for them to reach out to them. So it was really interesting, actually, part of the business side that a lot of people are told to do is create a very small niche, right? Find a very small target audience, because if you speak to everyone, you speak to no one, is what they say. So I started off as an expat coach for people in Barcelona, for those that had moved abroad and aren't feeling at home. And that's what I started with. However, very organically, I've ended up coaching people from 20 years old as a student to single mums, to new entrepreneurs, to 65-year-old grandmas. So my niche from this has gone and expanded. And the beautiful thing about it being online is that I work across countries in Europe and America as well. So my audience is very broad, but there's always an underlining common thread amongst them. And that tends to be that there's some barriers getting in the way and they're not really living the life that they really want to. And so that's why they come to me.
Yeah, I can. I've also been touched with this during my year in the MBA. We worked in leadership program, and we were able to tap into our fears, what we stress about, what holds us back, and the fact that COVID or many uncertainties before COVID would take a big part of our life. Stress and anxiety is not restricted to an age group or a person or a profile. As you mentioned, it might start with a niche, but everyone at some point would need to talk or can be worried about his health or his business or his finance or the future of his job or the academic or the country, and the list goes on. So yeah. It is, it's a never-ending loop, I think.
And especially now, what I'm finding with a lot of people as well, although there's a lot more job losses, unemployment, people are experiencing more anxiety and depression. It's also a time, because of the pandemic, that a lot of people think that their suffering isn't enough to receive help. Almost that, well, there are some people in hospitals, there are so many people in worse situations, so my problems aren't big enough.
Okay.
Right? And that is part of my mission here, to change that. That knowing this small level suffering that begins becomes that big suffering. And all of us deserve to have support before it gets to that place of the big breakdown where it's too late.
Yeah, recognizing and acknowledging the issue from its beginning might help us, as you mentioned, and dealing with a lot of issues that can be compounded and will lead maybe to unfavorable roads we never thought we'd be there and taking. As you mentioned, people might feel guilty sometimes for thinking of their own challenges and leaving what is outside in the world because they might see there's injustice. So if we're gonna talk a little bit, go a step backward where the lockdown started, and was not only a lockdown, it was a pandemic, the COVID, the ongoing impact of many events that dominated our life, and it became part of our conversations, especially since physical distance was no longer recommended, it was cut off. So this affected the well-being and the mental health of some and many. How did the lockdown affect your business?
Well, I have to say, for me, because it's when I launched my business, it was only going to grow in that sense. But I also think it was an incredible time. You know, it's tough and it's challenging, but it's also a time for people to really take that moment to reflect on the life they've been living. Was it a life that they had really chosen consciously? Or was it one that they had just followed down this path of expectations and of what they thought they should do? And it's so interesting that a lot of people before had stayed in a job for security. You know, this gives me a comfortable lifestyle, finances. And the one thing the pandemic has taught us is that security, to a degree, is an illusion. So we may as well be doing a job we love and risk losing that one than just doing one for the sake of it because it feels comfortable. Yeah. So for my business, it's gone really well, honestly. I think a lot of people are in those moments of transitioning, and it's a choice to either accept the circumstances that are around them or to make it that time that they make the change they really want.
Yeah, I was reading one article and it struck me the word saying that there's always a light to the end of the tunnel. And I said, why should there be a tunnel in the beginning? Like, it's not supposed to be like this. Like, you're just given a choice and you're putting yourself, like I'm putting limitations to what I think it can be possible and labeling it based on situations, which is, as you mentioned now and clearly like put it in words, that whether there is a pandemic or not, there are things we can do about it. And we shouldn't wait for something to happen to take a next step.
Absolutely.
So what are the key challenges? Can you talk about them? Did you have any challenges, although you mentioned that your business started, and what are they and how did you solve them?
Sure. Well, for example, one of them I mentioned briefly was the use of social media. Before, I was someone that would post maybe once a year. I hardly used Instagram. And so it was difficult for me to make that transition, especially as your own boss. And the work that I do, I am my product. So you have to be used and get used to being more visible. And that was definitely a process for me. But once I connected to my why of what is my business, what is it here to do, it's to serve others, then it allowed me to get out of my own way. You know, it was no longer about my ego, about saying the right words and all of these things. It was speaking my truth and connecting to people who needed it. So that was a big challenge at the beginning, but I think I was able to find my passion in it, my meaning in it, which has changed that a lot. I think the other challenge that a lot of new entrepreneurs face is the balance between doing things for free and pricing. And so that is, I think, always a kind of journey that you move between. And for example, recently I've been doing a lot of workshops online, which have been free. So at the beginning, you kind of don't know how that's going to work out, but actually I've gained new clients from it. And again, for me, if it's a way for people that are unsure about coaching, have never been exposed to it, it's a way for them to be introduced to it if they're curious and otherwise wouldn't have paid for, you know, an event. So that was a challenge, but I think I found the balance, and I think it's continuous, you know.
Yeah, so I think from this way you were able to shed light or give visibility to your work and attract the profile who were able to benefit most of what you were able to design and create for them, a kind of workshop or a program that will help them during your coaching sessions. And I think this worked. How did it work? Did you find it effective? Did you apply any new ways or models that helped you emphasize on this bit of workshop that you were talking about?
Yeah, it was definitely very useful. I paired up with another community, which I also think is really helpful. You know, gone are the days when we need to do all of this alone. It's a time for collaboration. So it was a community, a female entrepreneur community that I'm very passionate about, and we paired together, which is wonderful because you bring two audiences together. So you have double amount of visibility. And then in hosting those group workshops, they get a flavor of you as a coach and your work, and that leads then to paid sessions. So for me, it was very effective indeed.
Well, it's nice to hear that collaboration do work for the best of us, and we can share our insights and also our skills and create from that in this community a sense of entitlement, and we'll be able to help others. So as we do in this initiative in the lockdown economy, and when people start to receive help, they'll be able to think clearly and make sure that they look about after themselves and others who they need to take care about. So do you know how your customers are doing now, since 8 months, I think, or more have passed, and we burn out somehow after COVID, and how is your competition doing?
Yes, well, my clients are doing very well that I've worked with. There are some that I started with that I no longer have, but that is because it's been successful. So unfortunately with my work, the better coach I am, the more quickly I lose clients. So it's a very interesting job in that sense. But some of them have reached the place that they wanted to, setting up their own business or building their self-esteem up. So I have less, but I've also got new clients coming in at the same time. But at part of my work with them, we have consistent feedback of how the sessions are going, how they are, if they need anything else from me, a different angle. So it's always constant feedback between us both.
So you've created this kind of exchange or an open platform where your clients or those who were able to benefit from your sessions to reach out to you and share with you any concerns or help if they need.
Absolutely. For example, after every workshop I do, I have a feedback survey of seeing what they got from it, how they felt in it, if there was anything that could improve. And with my clients one-on-one, we do that in sessions as well.
Oh, that's amazing. For me, feedback helps both from two perspectives, and I've learned the benefits of it by doing so, by
Mm.
doing that and practicing it. And I can see that for me, I would definitely feel more comfortable if I had, like, I'm talking about my own problems and there's someone I can relate to and trust openly without feeling that I need to have some barriers, and that would break a lot of ice in the way. How about your competition? You mentioned that you had collaborated with a female of entrepreneurs. Are they also a competition, or they are different kind of community?
Well, they're a community with lots of different entrepreneurs in there, from artists to marketing specialists, but also to other coaches. So there are some there that maybe you would consider my competition. You know, there's always competition around, but I think I have changed that word of competition to inspiration or collaboration.
Hmm.
So I no longer really look at them as it's either me who's going to be successful or them. If it's someone that I admire and I see that they're doing wonderful work, I look to them as my point of growth, right? If they're doing things that I'm not, I ask them about the journey, watch the things that they're doing, rather it being something that we're fighting against.
Yeah, I can see that, because being an entrepreneur, you have developed and harnessed the flexible mindset where every contact might add value, and at the same time you may give the same. So they are no longer, you eliminated the word competition, because it might have a different meaning where we were used to, and it's
Mm.
no longer present in what you do.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is accepting that there's, you know, a different coach or a different person for everyone. So I believe, you know, we're individual people and we have connections to real people. So there will be some clients who feel more connected to me as a coach, and there'll be others who will be more connected to someone else. For me, that's not something I take personally. I think it's a beautiful thing that we should welcome. And we also have different coaches for different parts of our lives, depending on what we need. So I recognize that and accept that and look to the people that I can serve and who need me now.
Correct, because as an individual, we need both personal life and business endeavors support each at a different stage. So now the festives and the holidays are here, and people, by automatically they become more joyful, I hope, and more giving. So how is your business going on, and what are you planning for the coming few months?
Yes, well, I think it's an interesting thing that you mentioned there, with it's coming to the festive season and people are feeling more joyful. I have to say, it's been also a difficult time for a lot of clients that I've worked with. Some, if they're abroad here and they can't go back home with certain limits that are happening, but working together and accepting this is a different year, and the things that they can do has really helped. And in terms of future and next year, I'm super excited to grow my community, to have in-person coaching and community groups together here in Barcelona, and continue expanding with one-on-ones and workshops as well. So hopefully I can just reach more people who may need support right now and help them on their journey.
Yeah, I'm sure by having parallel activities that you are spreading in Barcelona and Spain and able to reach from all around the world, uh, will bring or pop up new projects and collaborations for 2021, where we all might need also an additional support and help to for a kickoff, for a wonderful kickoff, I hope. So, in terms of three things you might need help with as a personal coach, can you tell me, or if you have more than three things, can you tell us what they are?
Sure. I think one of them is the more digital tech side to the business. So there's a lot at the moment, for example, of the SEO, the search engine, to code your website so specific words come up. That's not my forte or where my knowledge is. So definitely the technology side, I receive help in, and that's somewhere I'll probably be looking to next year to expand on. And yeah, the other one, I guess, is also always, especially in this world right now, is a lot of the Instagram places where you find clients. I did get new clients just from looking at one post that resonated with them and they felt a connection. But a lot of it has grown organically through people I know sharing, etc. So, you know, social media training in terms of gaining completely new audiences, how to attract them who have never seen you before on Instagram. And I know it's an entire job role in itself that people hire just to do that.
So it would be interesting to know a little bit a part of it, but maybe we're not going to speak it live now. So you'll share this bit when we go off, and I can know also, I'm curious to know what, if it is possible, how these areas can help and serve people for their well-being. So a world is facing a new situation, I might say, and this requires us to adapt and construct a new normal. And for me, for instance, I found that all the foundations that I have laid, it's no longer, most of it no longer there, and it might affect my mindset if I'm not I was able to adapt quickly or embrace whatever is there and take it to another level and think of new ways to do it. Do you want to tell the people, do you have anything to share with the people as a final note, or as an entrepreneur, what to do when it comes to a similar situation and in general? Like,
yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing is, you know, accepting whatever you're feeling. If it happens, if you lose the job, if you know, there's difficulty with the family and health situation, the first thing is acknowledging your feelings. You know, even if it's not the highest level of suffering, you are allowed to feel that feeling, that emotion. A lot of the time we try to resist what we're feeling, and I say resistance leads to persistence, and it carries on. If we don't have a healthy way for it to be released, it stays within us. So the first thing for me is finding support, whether that's with your friends, a community, or a coach, that safe place for you to have that one-to-one support for you. And the second thing that I would say is consciously choosing your environment that you are in, the conversations that you're having, the people you're surrounded by. They say you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And it's very easy right now to be listening, engaging in the news, in all the negative conversation about people losing their jobs. And that is one truth. But there's a whole other truth, exactly like you're sharing with this lockdown economy, all these people who are making that change to create their own business, who are launching projects that they'd been passionate about and never had the opportunity to. And so when it happened for me and I lost my job, me as a coach, I practice what I preach. I put myself in a coaching course with one of my favorite coaches himself, and surrounded by people who were feeling inspired, who were there with the same goal. So be aware of your surroundings, because it has a huge effect on your mental well-being.
I can totally agree, and thank you for the beautiful words and how you put it together. It's all what many people are trying to do, and maybe they don't know how or why. And it's important to know the how and why, and this will, by putting ourselves, surrounding ourselves with positivity and people who think alike and are ambitious, it will help us overcome any difficult situation that might cloud our judgment. So I would like to thank you so much for being a guest in the Lockdown Economy and having this wonderful talk. Thank you so much, Ali. It's been a pleasure to talk about your journey and how your entrepreneur experience started in 2020. That is now benefiting a lot of people. Thanks everyone who will be watching this video. Feel free to contact Ali. Her details will be mentioned in the video below on YouTube and in the description. I would like to invite you, if you liked our discussion today, to put a like and subscribe to our channel. We have many more insights to come, as Ali mentioned, from many different countries, many entrepreneurs and business sectors. Just listen to them and be inspired, and I invite you to have a look. Thank you so much again, Ali. It's been wonderful, and stay tuned.